going on, Card Nation? This is John with Cardinal Craze. It's been a minute. I'm back. Today I'm doing a little bit of a podcast. There's about five things I want to talk about. First one being hiring Richard Owens as the new O-line coach, recruiting the great state of Kentucky and what this means going forward. TJ Capers' commitment this Saturday during the Under Armour All-American game. Kevin Coleman's commitment to Louisville and what this means for 2023 and what transfer to expect next. You're going to hear some of my thoughts, and let's get into it. All right. So I have named this segment The Renaissance. All right. Because we are transitioning, all right, from the dark ages into the kind of modern football. I mean, you got to look at kind of where we left off. I mean, initially Coach Braun was hired in at, I can't remember if it was December 5th, December 12th. It was around that time period. But in other words, all eyes were on who was going to be the next head coach when Scott Satterfield left to go to Cincinnati. And we got the guy we wanted. Everyone was a buzz on social media. There was a lot of speculation. And, Coach Braun has been building his staff, and his most recent hire was hiring Richard Owens out of Georgia Southern, who was the O-line coach and the running back coordinator. Richard Owens, I think a lot of people are kind of missing out on one of the big things about Richard Owens. When he got to initially Georgia Southern in 2022, they were not where they were when it comes to number wise. In 2021, Georgia Southern allowed 27 sacks. And that, is relatively high. Malik Cunningham had 19, but, that was different situation. So comes into the Georgia Southern program, 27 sacks. All right. The end of the 2022 season, the O-line only allowed 7 sacks the entire season, which was actually, based on the NCAA website, number 2. Georgia Southern was number 2 in the entire country in sacks allowed. I think that speaks volumes, because you went from having a team that allowed 27 sacks in one season, and the next season they only allow 7. Now, obviously, the quarterback had a lot to do with it. It was a different scheme. But to be quite honest, I mean, I'm blown away by those numbers. I mean, to only allow 7 in an entire season. I mean, this year, like I said, Malik Cunningham had 19. Understandably, Malik Cunningham liked to run outside the pocket. There was designed run plays. He was going to get hit at some point. But, we move into this new passing heavy offense, and we have an O-line coach coming in that only allowed 7 sacks in an entire season. All right, out of 12 games. To me, that is, that is a amazing hire. Quite frankly, I mean, I'm still amazed at the staff he's putting together, because Coach Braun is putting together an excellent staff. But for the most part, hiring Richard Owens as well, was a benefit to the university, because Richard Owens played at the university. He was a tight end. He played for Louisville. So you get someone who's coming in who's not just going to use this as a stepping stone. You got a guy coming in who actually knows the values, knows the fight songs, knows what it means to play for the university. And I think that's going to help us in recruiting in 2023. Now, obviously, this new class coming in, we got Madden Sanker coming in. We got Luke Burgress coming in. And I think we're going to expect maybe one more transfer to come in, kind of fill maybe a possible gap, maybe 2 O-line transfers. There's a lot of speculation right now as to who it may be. We're not sure. I'm sure the staff is looking at everyone they can possibly. So we're going to move on to the next segment, recruiting the great state of Kentucky and what this means going forward. Coach Braun stated in a press conference that he will be recruiting the entire state within a 4-hour, I think it was like 4-hour perimeter, which, let's be frank, if you drive from Louisville to the edge of Kentucky, all right, I'm talking about like West Virginia, all right, you got yourself 3 hours and 30 minutes. So he plans to recruit the entire state. Now, that's something that we haven't seen in a while. The last time that we actually had two Kentucky commits, because we saw Coach Braun bring on two Kentucky players. Now, that's something that we hadn't really seen since the 2020 class. All right. We had not seen two additional Kentucky commits. We had seen maybe one Kentucky commit, maybe one walk on. We had not seen two official Kentucky commits since the 2020 class. Now, obviously, bringing in Carter and Clements, they're going to be game changers on the defensive line. And honestly, going forward, Coach Braun recruited Kentucky even while he was at Purdue. He has great relationships with a lot of head coaches, a lot of schools throughout Kentucky. I think we're going to see a lot more kids from the great state of Kentucky committing to Louisville. All right. Because no longer are we going to allow UK to just stampede us, get some of the best local talent, or having local talent jump out of state because, well, no one was really recruiting them. Not saying the previous recruiting staff wasn't doing their job. I'm just saying that, we're going to be putting more emphasis on recruiting the great state and getting a lot more of these kids who are transferring out or going to Kentucky. So, going forward, I think we're going to be keeping a lot more local talent. I think there's going to be a bigger emphasis on just, keeping guys home, All right. So move on to number 3. This is going to be kind of quick today, guys. All right. So number 3, TJ Capers. He's going to be committing this Saturday during the Under Armour All-American game. And, currently there is, a lot of speculation that he will be going to Louisville. I've been seeing a lot of people posting he'll be going to Louisville. Right now, it's kind of up in the air. He is a very highly rated recruit. He is the number 2 edge rusher in the entire state. On 24/7 Sports, he comes in at a composite of 0.9951. All right. He is a 5-star on here. 24/7 Sports had also put him above as a 4-star, but coming in as a 0.94. But the second best edge rusher in the entire, currently in the entire country, to me, that speaks volumes. All right. So if we can hit the ground running and Capers commits to the University of Louisville, I think what we're going to see is we're going to see the 2024 class potentially exceed, all right, the 2023 class at its peak. All right. And, currently Capers, he has set his commitment date for the 7th. We're not sure what time, but supposedly it will be after the game. He's down to Colorado University. He is down to Georgia, the University of Southern California, Miami, and Louisville. I saw someone post on social media that it's actually down to maybe a 50-50 split between Louisville and Miami. And then I've seen people speculate, okay, well, now it's 80-20, maybe Louisville more. There's it's just one of those situations where we're going to have to wait and find out, where was everyone's speculation, true. Some comments on his commitment. If he commits to the University of Louisville, this will be the biggest commitment we have. Now, understandably, Ruben Owens was the, one of the biggest commitments we had during the last class. Then he decommitted and went to Texas A&M. If Coach Braun starts off the year by getting TJ Capers, because understandably, we get him committed, we still got until the end of this year to keep him on before he signs. And we really didn't see that as a struggle too much with Ruben Owens, but obviously when the staff change happened, he started looking in different places, and he eventually committed to Texas A&M. I don't think we're going to have that problem, but Capers is a dynamic edge rusher, and I think it's going to be really positive if we do get him. All right, because this means he's going to start bringing in other guys, because ballers play with ballers. That's something one of the old recruiting coaches said, and it's true. He's going to start recruiting guys he knows. He's going to start recruiting guys who are higher prospects just like him. He's going to start bringing in guys because he's going to want to build the team around him. Now, obviously, Isaac Brown is currently going to be doing, I believe there was a report stating that he was going to be going on a couple tours. I think that we could possibly keep him on because he is currently our only commit for the 2024 class. So there's a good chance that TJ Capers could potentially help Brown see that, staying committed is worth it, which, in all honesty, I mean, I think it is too. A lot of people don't seem to understand, and maybe some people do understand, but Coach Brom is going to be building his staff, and he's not just going to be throwing guys in because he's like, oh, okay, well, I mean, we really just need to fill this position. Coach Brom is going to be building a powerhouse. All right. This is his university. This is the university he played at. And a lot of people don't seem to realize that he is going to put effort into making this a dynamic program. We may be seeing ourselves at a potential 9-10 win season, depending on who else he gets in the transfer portal, because he's already gotten a really big player. And that's who the next person we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Kevin Coleman's commitment to the University of Louisville and what this means for 2023. What this means for 2023, quite frankly, this means a lot. Okay, because we just got the Jackson State University transfer who came in at, I believe, in 97, so 0.97 on 24/7 Sports in the 2022 class, and then he transfers. And honestly, I'm going to bring up some numbers here in a second. I'm going to tell you exactly what his numbers were because it is kind of crazy. His first year as a freshman, he had 510 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he averaged 15.5 yards per carry. All right. That was his average, 15.5. That was the average. Could you imagine what he'll do in an explosive offense with Jack Plummer as your quarterback who's going to be passing the ball consistently? All right. And here's the thing. If our O-line develops under Richard Owens, okay, we are going to have probably one of the highest passing seasons we've had in many years since Teddy Bridgewater. All right. And I think that that's something to really talk about. Now, understandably, I believe that we're going to be able to develop him into an even better player. And if he can stay consistent with that average of 15.5 yards per carry, we are going to be in a whole new ball game because I don't think he redshirted. So he's going to have 3 years of eligibility. We're going to have 3 years of Kevin Coleman. Initially, he's going to be a standout star. That's something. And when you kind of look at the entire class, we are loaded. We are now so loaded at wide receiver that, quite honestly, it is just amazing when you think about it. So I'm going to kind of mention this as well. So this was new. So this was on One Recruits. They just kind of posted this just a second ago. So I'm kind of breaking this as we're talking. So 2024 4-star edge rusher Dylan Stevenson has narrowed down his list to 10 teams, one of those being Louisville. All right. So another big time edge rusher has decided that he's going to be, putting Louisville up there in his top 10. That top 10 consists of Georgia, FSU, Nebraska, Auburn, Miami, Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, Tennessee, and Louisville. All right. So, that there has a lot of implication, not to mention that TJ Capers, that's actually TJ Capers' teammate in high school. Potential teammate in college, this is this is going to be huge. All right. This is teammates to TJ Capers. So if he commits to the University of Louisville tomorrow, he's going to be bringing on even more ballers. I could see him bringing on his friends. All right. And then that's something I was saying. He's going to recruit other ballers. He's not just going to, kind of go with the flow and he's going to be reaching out to his connections. And that's kind of what we saw with Pierce Clarkson. He started reaching out to dudes he knew was going to ball out. All right. But enough about that. I'm going to move on to the last segment. What transfer to expect? So right now there's a lot of hype over the Memphis, Tennessee. I believe he's a grad transfer. So right now we're going to expect a Tennessee possible transfer. We're also going to be expecting possibly a O-line commit, maybe two or I'm sorry, two tight end transfers. So Caden Piercorn. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. I'm sorry. I'm butchering his last name. It's not intentional. So actually, he has 2 years of eligibility. He's definitely a dynamic tight end. Very big, very strong. Definitely loves to get into those route situations. I could definitely see Louisville going after maybe one offensive line, um, one offensive line transfer, maybe two tight end transfers. It really just depends. So right now there's a lot of speculation, but honestly, this is really a wild, wild west situation. But again, the reasoning behind the Renaissance is because Louisville football is back. All right, we are going to be. This is a whole new era. We're transitioning from the dark ages into the modern age. Okay, we are transitioning into this is the Renaissance. All right, we're going to see potentially the best Louisville classes going forwards that we haven't seen in years. And I think Coach Brom is going to be doing everything possible to put Louisville back on the map. And I think he's already started. Well, anyways, guys, let me know what you think. Thanks for listening to this podcast. One of the first podcasts I've done in a while. I'm glad to be back. Definitely leave me your thoughts. Again, this is all just based on my opinion, just perception. So, let me know what you think, and be sure to subscribe and let me know what you want to hear about next. In the meantime, I will be updating you guys at least once a week, and just go Cards. All right, have a good morning, you guys.